Hello, my name is Lauren Starobin. I am an 8th semester intimate apparel student and the designer of Retro Color Studio. As I was designing this collection at home for the 8th month of the pandemic and more or less alone during that time, I found myself longingly considering the photographs of Bill Bernstein, a photographer who captured the communal euphoria of the disco era in New York City during the late 1970s. Mr. Bernstein's images show individuals completely enthralled in dance and music and perhaps some other things as well. But in any case, I was really drawn to the fun and expressiveness captured in these images and how they depicted a world. So,
Hey, you guys, can you just keep down? Thank you. I'm so sorry. Let's go back to your last sentence. Okay, I'll
okay.
cut this
Should
out.
should I start? Should I start again?
No, you don't have to. If you can pick it
Okay.
up.
So I'll just start from the
Where are you comfortable?
okay. As I was designing this collection at home for the 8th month of the pandemic and more or less alone during that time, I found myself longingly considering the photographs of Bill Bernstein, a photographer who captured the communal euphoria of the disco era in New York City during the late 1970s. Mr. Bernstein's images show individuals completely enthralled in dance and music and perhaps some other things as well. But in any case, I was really drawn to the fun and expressiveness captured in these images and how they depicted a world so absolutely opposite to that of which all of our lives had become. I have a sort of second life as a dancer and artist, and I'm lucky enough to be friends with some really talented visual and performance artists and musicians. And I thought of how wonderful it was to go out and dance and be with people who are also expressive and love seeing and being seen. I also loved the clothing scene on the dance floor in these images: bodysuits, bralettes, tights paired with skirts, tap pants, and sexy evening wear like pajamas. It was a real intimate apparel crossover moment where both the body and the artistic spirit was on display and celebrated. I wanted the pieces in this collection to be similarly versatile and able to check many boxes for the consumer. This desire for versatility is the reason for the athletic strain, which runs through the collection, as well as my own affinity for athletic details within intimate apparel and sportswear. I love the kind of dressing which came from having a daily life as a dancer, where the line between intimate apparel, athletic wear, and sportswear is often blurry and mutable. The color and graphic qualities of the collection derive from expressive modern artists from the 1920s, so such as Sonia Delaunay, Vasily Kandinsky, and Paul Klee. There's something about these artists and their work with color and geometric forms from that time that I found extremely energizing and beautiful, whilst also feeling grounding and foundational in a way that conveyed for me a possible starting off point for a future that feels quite uncertain, which I believe is how these artists might have felt in their own transitional time. There's a quote attributed to Paul Klee, who taught color theory at the Bauhaus, which reads, in uncertain moments, the student must return to the study of color and shape. Their objective laws are a gliding light in the dark. Quite perfect, I thought. So practically, I relied on these artists for their technical mastery of color and their ability to organize many colors together in a way that was pleasing. There are over a dozen colors in the pajama and the broader collection, but they dance around the core colors of aquamarine, light-hued cobalt blue, chartreuse, berry pink, and black. And the sort of mixing and integration of these colors was very thought out. The pajama is itself a kind of study in color combination. It is hand painted and is made from a combination of the donated stretch charmeuse and a non-stretch silk charmeuse. For a fantastic evening pajama, something silky and shiny is really your only option to evoke the appropriate amount of glamour. And so that's what I use. On the fabric, I traced out a pattern to be cut, stretched that fabric onto a silk painting frame, and drew out the geometric design in pencil. I took this opportunity to carefully connect the floating shapes of the pattern at seam lines and across center front, as well as adding the athletic stripes, which run down the side seams of the pants and sleeves, as well as at the shoulder line. And as I said, that athletic element was very important to sort of help bring the garment into different modes so that it could oscillate more fluidly between sportswear and sleepwear and evening wear even. I then applied a Gouda resist to the pencil lines and painted the fabric using Jacquard fabric paints. This medium is not too dissimilar to that of watercolor, and I often added a lot of water to the paint in order to achieve a more delicate application of color. The paint then dries and the color is set in a chemical bath and then washed a final time. Within the fabrication of the shirt, there are couture elements such as carefully constructed side slits at the bottom and bias bound seams throughout on the inside. Uh, Cuffs, collars, and facings are interfaced, and it is finished with self fabric buttons. The body of the bralette is made out of a black cotton ponte. For the colored bands, I encased the 1-inch stretch line elastics in the micro modal or the modal from Willie Herman. I liked the hint of texture in the micro modal and how it mirrored the texture of the ponte. I dyed it yellow and berry on my kitchen stove using RIT dyes. This process did take some time as my initial trials produced extremely saturated colors, so I had to experiment with time and dilution. I saw these bands as having a rather three-dimensional quality and ended up fusing the micromodal with tricot interfacing in order to give it a bit more body. I used the same band construction when making the waistband of the pajama pant in order to tie those two those two elements together. To complete the look, I made a matching padded eye mask to aid our fabulous artsy party girl recover from her night out of fun and get a good sleep during the day, and painted a pair of black silk slippers, perhaps because I just couldn't help myself. With Retro Color Studio, I wanted to create a collection that could be comfortable and practical enough to wear at home, while also embodying that energy and mood within the photographs of Bill Bernstein and the illustrations of Sonia Delaunay, that of the potential for a future triumphant with culture and community and eventually filled with parties and friends. Thank you very much.